And the Egyptish 7792, you can see it's a smaller hypocephalus, there's a little bit of damage. This is on linen. This ithyphallic snake figure here presenting the wedge-out eye, but there's no min figure on the throne. There's just this wedge-out deity, this wedge-out goddess actually. Her head is the sun, and it's full wedge-out eye, and she's holding a fan over the cow, which is fertilizing the cow. And I'll get into that here in a little while. But so you can see there's variations on a theme. Min isn't shown on this one at all, but this figure is. This figure's here, and this one, and the four sons of Horus over here. So there are variations of a theme, and I know there have been, Charles Larson criticized he was suspicious, and that's silly. There's no standard hypocephaly. We can clearly see that with the evidence. But let me discuss what the various symbolisms of these figures are, and who they are, and what they represent.
So why would the Egyptians depict God's penis? Isn't it blasphemous to depict God with a penis? This is the big controversy with the Min figure, the Min Horus figure. Frank Moore Cross, in his book Canaanite Myth and Hebrew Epic, ooh, the fire's getting warm. Nice to have a campfire when you're out in the mountains. Frank Moore Cross, in his book Canaanite Myth and Hebrew Epic, translates an Ugaritic poem. And here's the translation. El's power is great like seas, El's power like that of floods. Long is El's member like seas, El's member like that of flood. And this is on page 23. And he says in the footnote, the ark Yad Il could also mean El's penis is long. Now El, this El, is the El of the Elohim in the Hebrew Bible. It's the same deity. It was just assimilated in the Canaanite, when the Canaanitish culture was adapted through Judaism. They brought in the pantheon of the gods. Actually, this is the famous council of Yahweh, the famous council of the gods that so many have now brought out, along with Frank Moore Cross. He has also brought this out. But here's an instance of God being depicted with a penis. And the point of this is discussed. He's talking about further. It's interesting in the further on. He translates this poem. El seduces his wives. Lo, the two women cry. O husband, husband, stretched is your bowstave, drawn is your mighty shaft. Now that's fascinating. His wives are bragging about his love-making capability. And this is an important function of the gods. Make no mistake about it. There is something being symbolized here in the ancient Near Eastern pantheons. Let me share another source with you that I have. This is Mark Smith's Untold Stories, the Bible and Ugaritic Studies in the 20th Century. This is Hendrickson Publisher, 2001. He notes on page 217, he says, the word yod in the Ugaritic is literally hand, but yod is also in the Ugaritic texts used as a term for love, with the further connotations of penis. And then he translates the same poem Frank Moore Cross did. He translates it, El's penis extends like the sea, indeed, El's penis like the flood. El's penis extends like the sea, indeed, El's penis like that of the flood. The wordplay for love is involved, obviously. And it is also, the origin semantics of love and hand have merged, according to Mark Smith's text, Untold Stories. In another text by Mark Smith, The Origins of Biblical Monotheism, this is Israel's polytheistic background in the Ugaritic texts, he discusses the traits of the deities involving strength and size. This thing's getting smoky, isn't it? He's discussing the idea of strength and size, and this is on page 83, 84. and 85. The hand of God denotes divine power. Perhaps this is why Min has his hand up to the square. Whoops, I used my left hand. I should use my right hand. Perhaps that's why Min has his hand up to the square. Alan Fletcher says it's to measure the cubit, is a measurement of space. So the hand of God denotes divine power, whether for good or for ill, it doesn't matter. He's saying this on page 83. The divine hand may denote power exerted against your enemies, or it can be a generic expression for the hand of God. And it doesn't matter whether it's singular or plural, hand or hands of God, etc. The divine arm, they compare the size and the strength of the deities, and the impression from the Ugaritic texts is that size, the greater the size, the more powerful the deity is depicted. And that's why they say El's member is great like that of floods, and so on and so forth, is because they are trying to depict the power of the deity so that he would properly be worshipped and respected and honored. I mean, he had the power to be involved in the creation of the world. So this principle of depicting an ithophallic deity in our hypocephalus isn't so odd after all. And Min is shown in various different capacities as a deity that is ithophallic. And he combines with different deities. Ammon-Min is a very famous combination in the Egyptian texts. And I'm trying to see if I've got that. I've got the source. I'll have to get it for you. Ammon-Re is also combined, and Ammon-Min is also combined. And so you have Ammon, Re, and Min. Ammon is the hidden god. Re is the sun god. And Min is the ithophallic deity of regeneration. And this is how the Egyptians understood it. He is symbolizing the life principle. And that's very important because the life principle has to do with the grand key words of the Holy Priesthood, as Joseph Smith said. Now, Jeremy Nadler, in his book Temple of the Cosmos, the Ancient Egyptian Experience of the Sacred, this is an Inner Traditions book, 1996. He's discussing the Festival of Min on pages 85 and 86. He says, Min is normally represented as an ithophallic god, and he is preeminently a god of fertility. And his association, by the Middle Kingdom, he was brought into association with Horus. As a god of fertility, he also had a consort. That consort was Isis. And in our facsimile, figure 7, Min's consort is there in a most interesting manner. And I'll share that with you. You don't understand that there's a goddess involved in figure 7 unless you understand the Egyptian mythological background. But she's definitely there. And I'll show that to you. The idea of the consort is to have children. Of course. That's the point of being married. Even the gods are married. In the ancient Ugaritic pantheon. In the ancient Hebraic pantheon. Believe it or not, God is married. He has a bride. It's the Shekinah that the Zohar brings out so strong. And it's in the Kabbalistic emphasis more than in the scriptures. And it's also in the Egyptian aspect here. The idea of Min's regenerative energies is brought into kingship. And it reaffirms the powers of fertility throughout the land. This is the idea of the Feast of Min, the festival, the procession of Min, is to ensure the fertility of the land, the animals, and the people. This is our figure 7 in our facsimile number 2. The process and Feast of Min was repeated each year at the time of the harvest. Lettuce was sacred to the god Min because it was thought to have aphrodisiacal qualities. That is, it helped ensure that love was in the air, so to speak. Absolutely. This was a very necessary function of